In this video we're going to analyze Elon Musk's body language and see if we can spot when he's lying. We will compare previous body language to today's
My heart goes out to you.
and see if we can learn something. Let's start by looking at the video in 2017.
By the end of the year, you're saying someone's going to sit in a Tesla without touching the steering wheel, tap in New York, off it goes, won't have to ever touch the wheel by the end of 2017.
Yeah, essentially November or December of this year, we should be able to go from, all the way from a parking lot in California to a parking lot in New York, no controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
Did you see it? Let me zoom in for you.
California to a parking lot in New York, no controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
And did you see that? Let's watch again. Look at his mouth as he says it, and then the stare that he does.
No controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
Let's watch it again, but I'll slow it down for you. Isn't it funny? He promised this in 2017 and the car still can't do it today, in 2025. So Elon, when he said this, he knew it was a lie. Then we fast forward to 2025 and we see full self-driving driving in the rain in China. Impressive? Yeah. But will we get robotaxis? I don't think it's gonna happen for a long time. And why don't I think it's gonna happen? Because the cars can't reason, and current statistics are on my side, and not on Elon's, who have been promising this since 2016. And if we look at the FSD tracker, which tracks how many interventions users of FSD have, these are the current numbers. City miles before intervention is 38 miles. City miles, but highway miles are up to 408 miles. So even in 2025, the cars still can't do what Elon promised in 2017.
In California to a parking lot in New York, no controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
So Elon knew this was bullshit 8 years ago.
Do you remember this video from 2016? Tesla released it to promote the self-driving technology it was developing. Well, now it appears that the video was a sham. Tesla released the video, Musk tweeted, "Tesla drives itself with no human input at all through urban streets to highway to streets, then finds a parking spot."
And he knew this was bullshit when he said it and tweeted it. He doubled down on it. We can see it's bullshit because the car still can't do that today. So you're thinking, why would he do this? Well, let's take a look at his book and see if we can figure out why.
In March 2019, he re-entered crisis drama mode. "We have to raise money or we're fucked," he said to Grimes one dawn. He needed to come up with a grand idea that would turn the narrative around and convince investors that Tesla would become the world's most valuable car company.
He had to do it. He had to raise money or they're fucked. And that's when he came up with this whole Robotaxi idea.
"We have to raise money or we're fucked," he said to Grimes one dawn. He needed to come up with a grand idea that would turn the narrative around and convince investors that Tesla would become the world's most valuable car company.
He had to convince investors that Tesla is gonna be the most valuable company in the world.
One night he left the light on and just stared into space silently. Every couple hours I would wake up and he was just still sitting there in the thinking man statue pose, just completely silent on the edge of the bed, Grimes said. When she woke up that morning, he said to her, "I solved it." The solution, he explained, was for Tesla to host an autonomy day where investors would get a demonstration of how Tesla was building a car that could drive itself. Ever since 2016, Musk had been pushing his vision of a completely autonomous car, one that could be summoned and drive itself with nobody behind the steering wheel.
When Elon said this, it was all bullshit, and we have seen in statistics that they have come a long way. But unfortunately, I think they're still many years away. Even though the car can drive by itself today, but you have to monitor it and intervene when it does a mistake. But let's go back to body language analysis and see if we can spot when he's not telling the truth. Let's look at Autonomy Day for 2019 and see if we can see any more tells that the boy genius here have.
I feel very confident predicting autonomous robotaxis for Tesla next year. Mark my words.
Did you see that? Watch again. His body language looks like he's not confident, but he's saying that he is.
I feel very confident predicting autonomous robotaxis for Tesla next year.
So this was said in 2019, 6 years ago. He does say he's very confident, but it doesn't look very confident to me. They even said they were gonna have 1 million robotaxis by 2020. 1 freaking million! 1 million in 2020. But how many do they have today?
0.0.
What else dumb shit did Genius Boys say?
Supply issues with
No.
getting the chip mass produced.
No.
In the middle of the biggest crisis in our lifetime, he didn't see any supply issues. This is the work of a real genius. Supply issues during a pandemic? Nah. Why would there be any supply issues during a pandemic?
When Elon was 10 years old, he got tested by IBM, and he was found to have one of the highest aptitudes they'd ever seen for computer programming.
Supply issues with
No.
getting the chip mass produced.
No. The whole system, from a hardware standpoint, has been designed to be a robotaxi since basically October 2016.
Did you catch the face he made at the end of the video? Let's watch again.
Since basically October 2016. 2016. 2016.
This is the face of confidence. Look how confident he is. Even when he talks, he doesn't sound confident.
We think people do not need to touch the wheel, look out of the window. Sometime probably around, I don't know, second quarter of next year.
We have to raise money or we're fucked.
There's 3 steps to self-driving. There's being feature complete, then there's being feature complete to the degree that the person in the car does not need to pay attention, and then there's being at a reliability level where we've also convinced regulators that that is true.
Look at the face he makes here. He's just guessing.
Sometime probably around, I don't know, second quarter of next year.
To raise money or we're fucked.
Look at Andrej Karpathy when Musk says that. He doesn't look very confident.
There's 3 steps to self-driving. There's being feature complete, then there's being feature complete to the degree that the person in the car does not need to pay attention, and then there's being at a reliability level where we've also convinced regulators that that is true.
Andrej Karpathy, the leader in AI, left Tesla 3 years after this video. If there were just any signs at all, that they were on the verge of solving Robotaxi. Any signs whatsoever. Karpathy looks so confident on the left there. Look at his face when Elon says next year.
Sometime probably around, I don't know, second quarter of next year. There's 3 steps to self-driving. There's being feature complete, then there's being feature complete to the degree that...
Key thing in life is look at people what they're doing, not what they're saying. This is what confidence looks like. And then he leaves the company.
Meep.
But not all is bad. You can see that the car can almost drive 97% without interventions on the highways. Something Elon promised in 2014 is true today.
90% capable of autopilot. So 90% of your miles could be on auto. For sure highway.
The problem with AI is sometimes it makes mistakes and we don't know why. I think it's a shame that Elon lied so much, because now they're really getting somewhere with AI. But it was just bullshit. At the time where Elon was saying that, Andrej Karpathy, who was the leader in AI at Tesla, said this.
Roughly 5 years at Tesla. When I joined, it barely kept lane on the highway. I think going up from Palo Alto to SF was like 3 or 4 interventions. Anytime the road would do anything geometrically or turn too much, it would just not work.
Then in 2025, we see this.
Alright, did you guys see that? We just flew through that stop sign. Oh no. Remember when I said at the beginning of this video that it feels like a little bit of a regression? That's
exactly the point I made months ago when I said that AI has no intelligence and sometimes it will make epic mistakes. Just like that.
California to a parking lot in New York. No controls touched at any point during the entire journey.
Here are some more examples. Here he has to intervene because it was about to go into the deep snow. Here it's going 50% above the speed limit. On a snowy road. This proves that AI is stupid. Who would drive 50% above the speed limit in heavy snow?
% over the speed limit, which here it's going 50% over the speed limit. So I don't think that setting works very well.
Cop right next to us, and FSD needs to go that a little bit that way, and switch lanes without using a blinker.
As I said, AI will continue making stupid mistakes because it's a probability model and has no reasoning and no intelligence, just like Elon Musk. And what did Elon say in 2019?
We think people do not need to touch the wheel, look out of the window sometime probably around, I don't know, second quarter of next year.
Second quarter of next year. You can do that today because you have to monitor the car. So all the stuff Musk says without a huge leap in AI technology is just a pipe dream. It's not gonna happen.
He has a photographic memory, so he could remember everything. Anytime I had a question, my daughter Tosca would say, "Call Genius Boy."
Did you notice that she shake her head as she said that?
He has a photographic memory, so he could remember everything. Anytime I had a everything. Anytime I
think that head shake tells you more than enough. Let's look at some more body language.
I'm gonna work my ass off for you guys. So, I really will.
So recently he said he's gonna work his ass off for you guys, for the American people. As he's doing that, he's shaking his head and then he bursts out laughing.
I'm gonna work my ass off for you guys.
And then today we are reading reports that he installed a gaming studio in the fucking White House. The effing White House. How is this real life? How? It's like a joke. And then we have a bunch of Democrats going against Elon Musk.
Protests targeting Tesla, demonstrators gathering around the world and from coast to coast in the U.S. for so-called Tesla takedowns, outraged by Elon Musk and Doge's massive cuts to the federal workforce.
The green socialists are turning against one of their own. Oh, how I'm enjoying this. These are the same people that bought electric cars because it was good for the climate. They were getting EV subsidies from Democrats to buy EVs. And they thought they were saving the climate. Not only are these people lost a ton of money on driving EVs, but they actually thought they were saving the climate. They're against Elon. Your precious Obama created this mess with his incentives for electric cars.
Announced $2.4 billion in highly competitive grants to develop the next generation of fuel-efficient cars and trucks powered by the next generation of battery technologies, all made right here in the US of A.
So this Harvard-educated moron put $1.4 billion to electric cars, solar and wind, and made Elon Musk filthy rich. That's what a Harvard education gets you nowadays. A moron thinks he knows better than the marketplace. That's why you should never buy anything the government tells you to buy. What the hell do they know? They thought Elon Musk was a genius. Every time a Democrat sees this, he's like, oh my god, Elon is a genius. Quickly, give him more of our taxes. He's a genius.
This represents the largest investment in this kind of technology in American history. See, I'm committed to a strategy that ensures America leads in the design and the deployment of the next generation of clean energy vehicles.
Clean energy vehicles.
To solar and wind, to Solyndra and Fisker and Tesla and Enter1. I mean, I had a friend who said you don't just pick the winners and losers, you pick the losers.
That's what government intervention in the economy does. It created losers by this genius. That's why the government should never intervene in the economy. They should just leave us alone. Every company Obama bailed out failed. Obama told us to buy EVs, and George Bush told us to buy houses. He lowered rates to 1% and told everybody that the American dream was to buy a house.
Owning a home is a part of that dream. It just is. Right here in America, if you own your own home, you're realizing the American dream. And so here are some of the ways to address the issue. First, The single greatest barrier to first-time home ownership is a high down payment. It is really hard for many, many low-income families to make the high down payment. And so that's why I've proposed and urged Congress to fully fund the American Dream Down Payment Fund. This will use money, taxpayers' money, to help a qualified low-income buyer make a down payment.
So the genius on the left told you to buy electric cars, and he used taxpayers' money to subsidize EVs. The genius on the right told you to buy houses, and he also used taxpayers' money to do so. The genius on the left cut interest rate to 0%. The genius on the right cut interest rate to 1%, which created a housing bubble. They both intervened in the economy and thought they were smarter than the market. That's why you should become a libertarian. Here is Peter Schiff warning against the housing bubble years before it burst.
We need low interest rates right now in the United States to support our housing bubble, to support the stock market bubble, so when interest rates start to rise and these bubbles start to unravel, we can see a lot of trouble in the second half of the year.
Which puts if this scenario is accurate and is going to happen, this really puts the Fed in a very difficult position when it meets this week, for example, what to do with interest rates.
Well, the problem is the Fed has to keep raising interest rates. They're already much too low.
And Peter Schiff is such a stubborn guy that he told a bunch of bankers they're gonna be unemployed soon, a few years before the housing bubble burst, and he did it straight to their face.
So, when pendulums swing, they don't swing way to one side and then come and stop in the middle. They go all the way to the other way first. It takes a while before you find a balance. So as expensive as real estate got, right, that's how cheap it's going to get. People are going to be completely amazed at the prices that houses are going to be selling for in a few years. Amazed.
And 2 years later, this happened.
Was the worst day on Wall Street since the crash of 1987.
Just broad-based declines across all of the major technology sectors. Apple's under pressure, Yahoo down 8.5%, Cisco 6.5%, Research in Motion.
Just as amazed as the people were when they saw their shares of stocks go from 200 to nothing, or practically nothing. It's the same thing. It's the same dynamic, because you're going to have lots of sellers, you're going to have very little buyers, you're going to have a lot of foreclosures, you're going to have a lot of developers going bankrupt, you're going to have a lot of speculators. I know lots of people own 5, 6, 7, 8 houses.
The heightened financial turmoil that we have experienced of late may well lengthen the period of weak economic performance and further increase the risk to growth.
Can't look at it after you buy it because it's so horrible.
Maybe they've had negative cash flow on these houses. Their negative cash flow is going to get bigger because a lot of them are refinanced with adjustable rate mortgages. I know people who own many, many houses, and when they qualified on their loans, they wrote owner-occupied. There are people that have 7 or 8 or 9 owner-occupied homes in different states. Everybody is looking the other way at these speculators buying houses. But, they're all going to come on the market. Look where we are here in Las Vegas. There are so many condominiums that have been built in this town that nobody lives in. Their lights are never on. They weren't even bought with the intention of living in them. Some of them are so small, it's like nobody would even want to live. But why would you even want to buy a condo in this town? Look at all the hotel rooms. And they're pretty reasonably priced.
Started in America last year, has now spread to every part of the world.
Why would you want to own a condo? Well, the only reason people wanted to buy condos was because they thought they can flip them to somebody else. But as this huge supply of houses comes back on the market from speculators who got caught, and a lot of people who are speculators are homeowners. Just because you own your home and live in it doesn't mean you're not a speculator. If you bought a house using an adjustable rate mortgage, knowing that you can't afford to make the payments when they reset, you're a speculator. If you bought a house planning on selling it in 2 or 3 or 4 years, you're a speculator. That's all you are. So we had rampant speculation in this housing market, much more so than we had in the stock market. But the bigger problem is how intertwined the economy and the stock market are.
The start of trading at the New York Stock Exchange, and stocks are set to kick off lower, a whole lot lower.
So Peter Schiff was right. He did call the bubble. And he told it straight to their face. He also told them they're going bankrupt to their face. And he was right. This is what the government does. It manipulates interest rates and creates asset bubbles. And when these bubbles burst, you're in a tough time. People's life will be dramatically changed.
This could be the most serious recession in decades. And that means life, as most Americans know it, is about to change, in some cases dramatically.
Jim Rogers says that do not buy the hype from Wall Street and the press that the stocks always go up. There are long periods when stocks do nothing and other investments are better. Then we have Kathy Wood out here talking about Robotaxi.
And we're on record saying we believe in 5 years the stock will hit $2,600, and that's not even including humanoid robots, which are now moving into the Tesla ecosystem much faster than even we expected. So more than a tenfold increase just from robotaxis.
So Kathy Wood thinks Tesla is going to tenfold and get to $2,600 for the stock on Robotaxi that I made a whole video about. And all of this after Tesla went up 20,000%. And it's easy to forget, but it was only valued at $20 when the pandemic started. It's incredible how much it has gone up the last few years.
The president struck a more determined tone and walked back his earlier attempts to downplay the seriousness of the virus.
This is a pandemic. I felt it was a pandemic long before it was called a pandemic.
The White House is promising a massive economic recovery package, bailing out airlines, hotels, and businesses, and offering assistance to every person in the U.S.
We're looking at sending checks to Americans immediately.
And what did Trump do? He intervened in the economy massively. He bailed out all the companies we just heard. And he gave every American checks, which fueled consumption and made all these bubbles larger. This is what every president does. Let's look at Bitcoin, which has also gone up 20,000%. It is truly incredible how high these things has gone up. And after all of this, Kathy is out there thinking it's gonna go another tenfold. I think Trump will do everything to pop up the stock market. But will it go up 10x? I personally don't think so, but you never know with bubbles. Trump is out here talking about the Doge stimulus.
President Trump floats the idea of sending big stimulus checks to millions of Americans.
The money would come from savings, Trump says, have been uncovered by the Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE. And at an event in Florida last night, Trump said he's thinking about using 20% of the savings to pay down debt and giving another 20% to Americans. That could potentially mean checks up to $5,000.
They're trying to make this bubble even bigger. Will it succeed? I doubt it. I think it's gonna fuel mass inflation. But we have to watch and see how markets react. It is possible that the AI bubble becomes even bigger. I doubt it will happen, but it is possible. Everything's possible. We have Bitcoin on $100,000. Things I thought was impossible. So we just have to watch and see how markets react. I thought inflation would show up way sooner. But all the money they printed went into the stock market, meme coins, bitcoins, the AI bubble and everything else. Once this money switches direction into commodities, well, then you're gonna see a lot of inflation. And these bubbles create the wealth effect, because people can borrow against their house and speculate in Bitcoin, meme coins, and the stock market. And this is why I'm a libertarian. Every government intervention in the economy creates unintended consequences. Well, can you imagine all the consequences that will unravel when all this misallocation of capital that has happened for 30 years? Every single president has stimulated the economy. The economy is high as a kite, and when it gets off all that stimulus, you're gonna see a massive recession. My favorite investors explains, Jim Rogers.
And how big a crash could we be looking at?
It's gonna be the worst in your lifetime.
I've had some pretty big ones in my lifetime. It's long.
It's going to be the biggest in my lifetime, and I'm older than you. No, it's going to be serious stuff. It's going to be very... We've had financial problems in America, let's use America, every 4 to 7 years since the beginning of the Republic. Well, it's been over 8 since the last one. This is the longest, or the second longest in recorded history, so it's coming. And the next time it comes, you know, in 2008 we had a problem because of debt. Henry, the debt now, that debt was nothing compared to what's happening now. In 2008, the Chinese had a lot of money saved for a rainy day. It started raining, they started spending the money. Now even the Chinese have debt, and the debt is so much higher. The Federal Reserve, the central bank in America, the balance sheet is up over 5 times since 2008. It's going to be the worst in my lifetime too. Be worried.
I am worried.
Good, good.
Can the Fed rescue us? Can anybody rescue us?
They will try. They will. What's going to happen is they're going to raise interest rates some more. Then when things start going really bad, people are going to call and say, "You must save me. This Western civilization is going to collapse." And the Fed, who's made up of bureaucrats and politicians, will say, "Well, we better do something." And so they will try, but it won't work. It'll cause some rallies, but it won't work this time.
And we are in a situation where Western civilization already seems to be possibly collapsing, even with the market going up all the time. Often when you do have a financial calamity, you get huge turmoil in the political system. What happens politically if that happens?
Well, that's why I moved to Asia. My children speak Mandarin because of what's coming. You're going to see governments fail. You're going to see countries fail this time around. Iceland failed last time. Other countries fail. You're going to see more of that. You're going to see parties disappear. You're going to see institutions that have been around for a long time. Lehman Brothers has been around over 150 years. Gone. Not even a memory for most people. Well, you're going to see a lot more of that next time around, whether it's museums or hospitals or universities or financial firms.
And it's all the government's and the central bank's fault. And if you want to support this channel, you can do that by becoming a member on YouTube. Americans should have voted for Ron Paul and Peter Schiff because they are libertarians. We all love Mises and the Austrian School of Economics. Are we going to see a gigantic AI bubble before this whole thing bursts? Or are we already in a recession? What do you think?